Okay, so second video on my vlog, diary, whatever. On this video, I decided to talk a little bit about my journey migrating to Australia. Well, I mean, what was my life was like maybe during my 17 years living as a foreigner. Well, I wouldn't say a foreigner, like now, because I've been living in Australia for 17 years now, so it really does feel like home. So, while I still miss my family and friends in Brazil, I do have friends in Australia as well. So, whenever I go to Brazil, I at some point I always miss Australia, and whenever I'm in Australia, I always miss Brazil. So I think life would never be very simple for me. Oh, and that's the watch again. Here we go. Always interrupting me. Um, so yeah, I moved. The idea to go to Australia was basically to study. I was lucky enough that I had the support of my family. My dad could help me with the costs of going to study in Australia. It all happened basically this way. Back in Brazil, I was doing university there. Um, my dad, my dad, for he used to travel a lot to the U.S., mainly Miami, to shop for his business. He runs a computer store in Brasilia, Brazil. So I think once he actually went to Disneyland, and he kept saying like, "Oh, one day I'm gonna send you and your brothers to Disneyland. One day I'm gonna send you and your brothers to Disneyland." So one day it came when he mentioned that again. I told him like, "Why not maybe send us to study somewhere?" And he kind of dodged the question, well, giving me an answer for a little bit. He was like, "Yeah, yeah, we'll go like that," because I guess while he did actually have the good intentions of sending us to, I don't know, to Disneyland or to abroad, I really don't think he actually thought of the actual cost of doing that. So what happened? Um, Back then I was doing university. I was studying computer science in the Catholic University in Brasilia. Um, so when my dad mentioned about sending us to study, I mean, sending us abroad, um, I said like, what about very soon? Excuse me, sorry about that. Um, Instead of sending us to study, why not? I mean, instead of sending us to Disneyland, why not sending us to study? And he was like, yeah, okay. Um, and very soon I knew I would have to renew my enrollment at university. So I thought, you know what, if we're going to do this, I better put my enrollment on hold and go now, then come back to Brazil, finish my degree, and get straight to work. And he was like, no, no, I think you'd better finish your course and we'll talk about that later. And I said, but Dad, like really, it would be if I finish my course, it would be maybe better for me to go. Um, I mean, to join the workforce. And my dad's a bit temperamental. He was like, oh, you know, whatever, just do whatever you want. So, the day came when I had to renew my enrollment. Once again, I called him using one of those pay phones, the big ones on the wall, uh, coin operated. Oh, not sure if I missed that. So yeah, called him and I said, So, can I put my enrollment on hold? And once again, he said, no, I think you better continue. Like, you maybe you go traveling later. I don't think you will. I mean, I don't think that's a good decision right now. I said, "Well, Dad, it's um, I really think if I'm going to do this, I better go and do it for a short time and then come back and get to work. Because then once I maybe if I get a job, I might not be able to. I mean, I'll probably be stuck in that job, and I don't. If I manage to get a good one, I don't think I would want to quit. So once again, my dad said, "You know what? Just do whatever you want." So okay, I said, "Okay, see you later, Dad." Later on, I got home and he asked me, "So what did you do?" And I said, "I put my enrollment on hold." And he didn't look very happy, but he said, "Yeah, okay. You can look. Oh, we can search information about going abroad." So from there on, I this was back the day when I called my dad, I mean, from the university asking if I could put my enrollment on hold was my birthday. It was actually July 7th, that back in 2000. Um, so after he gave me the green light to look for information, I think from Brazil, most of the time when you think about studying language, studying English, I guess most people think of going to the US, and so did I. So I looked for information. Was insanely expensive. I would not have the option of working there, at least not legally, because um, so I looked into Canada. A lot cheaper. As a student, apparently at the time, I think you could on a student visa could you allowed to work as well to help um, with the costs, with the living costs there. Looked into England, also a little bit cheaper, and that was it. I kept the research at that time. um, then one day I went to watch a movie, um, and at the back of this little flyer with all the movie times and the synopsis of the movies and all, there was an advertisement of an agency that sends students to Australia. I didn't notice that actually. I just put when I arrived home, I put the flyer. I had taken the flyer home. I put it, I don't know, on the couch or something, and I think by chance my dad picked it up and was looking at it, and they found like, oh, what about Australia? I was like, wow, actually, yeah, I haven't thought about it. And that would have been interesting too, because, well, in September that very same year, there was Sydney, Australia would be hosting the Sydney 2000 Summer Olympics. So I called the agency, arranged a meeting with them, went there, sat with them, checked the costs and all, and Australia was by far the cheapest place to go, and I was allowed to work as well as a student under the student visa. Then that was it. That was basically decided. I was going to Australia. Um, I got all my got all the paperwork done, applied for the visa. I didn't even have a passport back then. I applied for the passport, got all the documents, got applied for the visa, and got it already. Then the day came to depart to Australia. So I the departure I remember now was Father's Day, and that's the only reason why it was Father's Day in Brazil, and that's the reason why I actually remember the date so well, because It was the 13th of August in 2000, Father's Day. I gave my dad a great present. It was getting rid of me. Anyway, so departed Australia, arrived in Australia. I mean, departed Brazil, arrived. Well, from Brasilia, I had to take a plane to São Paulo. From São Paulo, my plane would stop in Argentina, but my flight left São Paulo late. When I arrived in Argentina, basically my flight to Australia was about to depart. I didn't speak Spanish, I didn't speak English, and I was in this mad dash from one aircraft to the other, with a whole bunch of other lost people in the aircraft, also trying to catch the same connection. And luckily, we actually make to the aircraft just before they close their doors. There we go. They close the doors. We depart. We take off to Australia. I land in Australia, and because I was expecting, I mean, the agent had arranged transportation, accommodation, schools, visas, everything. So, me and my naivety, I didn't really look at the documentation, nothing. Really, I was kind of silly and stupid, really. So, I didn't check, I didn't know where I was staying, because I was expecting, well, there's going to be a driver there, and he's going to take me to where I'm staying. To my surprise, when we arrived at the airport, there was no driver. There was nobody waiting for me. I was there, just looking lost and stupid and not knowing what to do. When I was lucky enough to meet two Brazilians that were also on my flight, also coming to study, but they had already been to Australia, they had already been to Sydney, and they were like, so where are you staying, who's picking you up, blah blah, and I'm like, my driver's not here, I have no idea what I'm saying. I started going through all the documentation, tried to find the location where I'm staying, and we actually found the address. The name of the location was like called the Bondi Lodge. It was a hostel located close to Bondi Beach. And the guys, again, luckily enough, they were like, "Wow, we have stayed in this place. So if you want, we can catch a shuttle together, and our accommodation now is not too far from there. And since we have previously been to the place where you're staying, we can all take the same shuttle and get the driver to drop you off there first, and then we head to our accommodation." I thought, wow, this is a miracle. How lucky am I? I got help. Like, I couldn't speak English at all, so didn't know where I was staying or anything like that. So I got very helpful people to give me a hand. So we got in the shuttle. The driver took us to the Bondi Lodge, dropped me off there, and then I got to the reception. Watch again. And so I got to the receptionist, and this tall, blonde Aussie dude, he was there at the reception, and he was like, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, whoa, the dude is speaking English to me. I couldn't understand anything. I had no idea what he was saying. And to this point, I'm still surprised. I have no idea how I was actually able to understand him, but apparently he needed a deposit so that he could give me the key to the room. I have no idea how I got that information. 17 years later, I still have no idea how I understood that. Then I showed him some cash, but the problem is I had US dollars, not Australian. And the guy said, "Oh, I'm sorry." He was, again, no idea how I understood him. He wanted, I think it was 50 Australian dollars. And he tried to explain to me where I could exchange currency. Um, and so I left my bags there, just took the cash with me. Somehow I understood the directions. I think he drew in the map. I don't quite remember now. It's been a long time. Went to the exchange place, exchanged some money, got back, and finally, after such a long journey, was probably something like 30 hours from my city to the airport in Sydney, after all the connections and all that. So after such a long time, I was able to give the receptionist the cash. He gave me the key, and off I went to my room. So this video is at 16 minutes right now, so I'm gonna leave you with that. I will continue the story later to tell you the rest of my journey in Australia. I'll try to keep it a bit shorter and, yeah, a bit more, again, structured. So until next time, see you later.